Good morning, friends. I'm Michael Kovnat, and this is the Next Big Idea Daily. Quick masterclasses from the best new books written and read by the authors themselves. Don't forget to hit follow in your podcast app and sign up for our free newsletter using the link in the episode notes. Now, why are people such big talkers? For all the interest in animal communication, there's little question that human language is orders of magnitude more complex and versatile. So why is that? Why are we so much chattier than other species? Madalena Beekman has a surprising answer: blame the babies. Madalena is Professor Emerita of Evolutionary Biology at the University of Sydney, and in her new book, The Origin of Language: How We Learn to Speak and Why, she explains that due to a series of evolutionary accidents, human infants were born so helpless that survival depended on coordinating care. Language, she argues, evolved as a kind of project management system for baby rearing. In other words, we didn't start talking because we were geniuses. We started talking because we were exhausted parents. Here's Madalena to explain.
My name is Madalena Beekman, author of the new book, The Origin of Language: How We Learn to Speak and Why. I'm an experimental evolutionary biologist, and I've spent most of my career studying cooperation, intelligence, and communication. My favorite species are insects, honeybees specifically, but more recently I became interested in human evolution. And while investigating our evolutionary history, I stumbled upon a new explanation for how and why we came to speak. Insight number 1. Evolution is lazy. Evolution is not the meticulous craftsperson you may think it is. Instead, evolution is a pragmatic tinkerer, frugal and opportunistic. It tries to solve problems using whatever's lying around, and it rarely over-delivers. If a simple solution will do the trick, natural selection usually won't bother with bells and whistles. What's remarkable about the story I want to tell is just how easily it can be carved up into a short series of discrete accidents. A humbling handful of mistakes. Evolution by natural selection has always been the science of dumb luck. There is nothing special about the winner of a single elimination coin-flipping tournament, even if it runs to 1,000,000 rounds. The structure of the contest is what guarantees that someone or other will prevail. But what's stunning about our descent from other apes over the last 6 million years is that it boils down to just 6 or 7 key moments. Giving an exact number would introduce bias and invite needless controversy about which developments deserve to be called key. But for me, losing a chromosome, neoteny, or the slowing down of development as embryo, chromosome inversion, gene repair, gene duplication, and the descent of the larynx collectively sum up how we got from chimpanzees to chatty apes. Some of the mistakes feature in the insights below. For others, one must read the book. Every time a mistake was made, it could have been the end of our lineage. But through dumb luck, evolution through natural selection made the best out of a bad job. And here we are. Insight number 2. There is more than just DNA. There might be some very rare exceptions, but it's generally easy to distinguish a chimpanzee from a human. The same cannot be said when you look at their DNA. If you were to compare our DNA with that of a chimpanzee, you would only find a difference of about 1%. And that means that we share close to 99% of our DNA. Such genetic similarity was not what we expected when scientists started the Human Genome Project. In fact, the Human Genome Project was supposed to reveal what makes us human. Clearly, whatever it is that makes us human is not to be found simply in our DNA sequence. One big difference between us and chimpanzees is that we lost a chromosome. Well, actually, we didn't really lose it, but 2 chromosomes got stuck together and stayed together. In chimpanzees, the 2 remain separate so that they have 24 pairs of chromosomes against our 23. The way DNA is organized matters, which helps explain why we are similar genetically but different in many other ways. when the order of the DNA sequence changes, different genes may be switched on or off at different times, and timing matters. The loss of a chromosome was the first of the mistakes that ultimately made us human. No big changes in DNA sequence, some tinkering did the trick. Insight number 3. We have been social for a very long time. Our social life started more than 4 million years ago, when our ancestor Lucy made her appearance. Lucy's scientific name is Australopithecus afarensis. She received her nickname thanks to the song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds that was popular at the time of her discovery. I imagine a bunch of paleoanthropologists sitting in a hot and dusty tent, brushing dirt off ancient bones while listening to the Beatles. Lucy and her species were probably the first of our ancestors to permanently walk on 2 legs. And that had some serious consequences. Ever try to outrun your dog? If you have, you know that it can't be done, at least not when your dog is in the mood for running. No 2-legged creature can outrun one with 4 legs. Without the ability to quickly retreat high into trees, Lucy and her ilk were at a serious disadvantage in an environment rife with 4-legged predators. As a defense strategy, they stayed together. Safety in numbers. Having others around was necessary for more than one reason. Babies needed help being born because of the changes to the pelvis caused by walking upright. The orientation of the birth canal twisted so that babies were now born facing down instead of facing up towards mum. While mum in the past could help the baby out, now she couldn't without risking breaking its neck. Those little ones cause more problems. Our ancestors may have freed their hands by becoming 2-legged. These hands were quickly filled with babies. Because here's the thing. When you walk upright, you can no longer just throw your baby on your back and expect it to hold on. Babies literally became a handful. Insight number 4. Babies made us speak. When biologists like myself list the features that distinguish our species, Homo sapiens, from other species, we usually include the following 2 items: our language and the immaturity of our infants. These might seem unrelated, but I argue that talking and caring for underbaked newborns co-evolved in an episode of runaway selection initiated by the genetic anomalies we now know spurred our species' neurological growth. Rudimentary spoken language first became a realistic possibility when our brains grew large enough and our voices became versatile enough for us to assign complex meanings to complex sounds. It turns out that the versatility required to mold the sounds of human speech was actually an indirect side effect of the skull changes necessitated by our brain change. So, to consolidate the story, you could say that big brains themselves were the childcare solution our species sorely needed. But of course, in an ironic twist only Mother Nature could have conceived, our big brains were also the main cause of the problem. Our babies are born earlier because their heads are too large, and our birth canals are too small for them to be born any later. But why did our brains get so big? And why did our hips get so narrow? The pelvis problem was a side effect of our walking upright. As our ancestors became better at walking on 2 legs after Lucy started the habit, the pelvis adapted to improve our balance and allow for more secure attachment of the thigh muscles that now carried our weight. Those changes inadvertently pinched and narrowed the birth canal more and more, which was tolerable until we let our heads get too big. The brain problem originated with a torn chromosome inverting to create a gene nursery. Then a long-broken gene in the nursery got repaired and started copying itself. Once active, those copies served to slow down the process whereby glial cells in the brain differentiate into neurons, which led to way more computing power than ever before. Bigger brains mean earlier births. Earlier births require more support. Language is how we ask for help and coordinate it. The harder the task, the more language we need for planning and project management. But developing a proto-language calls for more and more cognitive resources, that is, bigger brains. And so we were trapped in a catch-22. And our mushrooming ability to voice the needs of mother and child meant we could accommodate more offspring with each generation, which only exacerbated the demands of childcare, of course, but also safeguarded the survival of our species. Insight number 5. It pays to be humble. If you were taking bets, roughly 300,000 years ago, when modern humans first came into the evolutionary scene, smart money might have been on one of the 4 or more sister species of Homo roaming the earth alongside us. Homo sapiens have a design flaw that could easily have spelled extinction. Our ability to speak started with the descent and stretching of our larynx and tongue due to changes in skull morphology caused by our expanding brains. But those changes have a dangerous side effect: the risk of choking when food or drink goes down the wrong spout. Yet we survived, surpassed our peers, and eventually subjugated the planet. All thanks to an evolutionary moonshot. The picture in the end is of an odd species that stumbled into global dominance through a relatively quick succession of simple mistakes, not unlike Peter Sellers' character in Being There. If that sounds contrarian or misanthropic, I'd say humanity hasn't been burdened by an overabundance of humility lately. As we continue to ravage the natural world and violently enforce socio-economic hierarchies based on meaningless biological differences, it may be time to take ourselves down a peg, or 20. A certain genre of popular science titles tries to tackle the question, what makes us so special as a species? My answer is, we aren't, really. Our greatest distinction may well turn out to be that we're the first and only creature to eradicate the rest of life on Earth. If my version of our origin story is humbling, perhaps that's what this world historic moment calls for.
Thank you, Madalena. Okay, everyone, you can get a copy of The Origin of Language using the link in the episode notes. That's our show for the day. If you got something out of it, please leave us a rating or review so others can find it too. And go to nextbigideaclub.com to find out about our hardback subscription club, where we send you the best new nonfiction books as selected by our curators Malcolm Gladwell, Adam Grant, Susan Cain, and Daniel Pink. Check it out at nextbigideaclub.com and use the code DAILY for a 20% discount. That's nextbigideaclub.com and use the code DAILY. I'm Michael Kovnat. I'll see you tomorrow.